Hello, everybody. It's Ed again, and I'm speaking with CJ from Amazon Sellers Lawyer. CJ, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Ed. I'm blessed. I'm doing really well today.
Okay, we're all blessed. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Okay, one question. Amazon asks for an invoice, and they say they still need more information from the supplier's name, with the supplier name, address. They're not asking for POA, even though sometimes I guess it's good to write something. But they need a different. So what else there to do besides resending it or getting invoices from somewhere else which you don't have? At that point, what do you do?
Okay, what we're doing is we're putting it together with a POA on every single time. They ask for invoices because the plan of action gives them a guidepost and makes it really simple for whoever's reading it. The vast majority of these things, we've talked about this a few times, are being read by people in India, and they don't have a whole lot of time. So even if your plan of action is just one page of bullet points, it can explain what the invoices are that attach to it. So if you've already sent in your invoices and you didn't get reinstated, put together a page, a plan of action, of bullet points, and make it as simple as possible. Make it so simple that the person on the other end of that email doesn't even have to look, okay? So you want to make it simple, quick, and easy as possible for that person in India to read it and to reinstate without check their boxes. And you just got to make it easy for them.
Right, but I know, right, I see what you're saying, but lately, the more information emails have been very direct. They're saying they want invoices for the last 365 days, the name, the address. They didn't say anything about a POA. So you're saying that the POA should explain the invoice, or the POA should address the situation?
The POA should address the invoices and explain what the invoices are behind it. That these are authentic goods and not inauthentic. Here is the invoices for this product and that product. All you're really doing is giving a guidepost to the invoices. If you're submitting invoices going back a year and you've had any volume at all, you're talking about a lot of paper that's being read on a screen. And just like for some of us, when you're looking at something on your computer monitor, it's kind of hard to decipher. So maybe a plan of action, that's what we call it, but what you're really doing is giving them a summary of the invoices that you're attaching to it. And the goal is to make it easy. They have 2 or 3 minutes per case to look at. You want to make it as easy for them as possible. So we call it a POA, but in reality, you're just really giving them an outline of what the invoices are behind it. What we've also done, where we've submitted the invoices and gotten asked for more information, and where we've already given them all the invoices, you can then divide up the invoices. You can highlight the invoice and, okay, here are the invoices for product A, and if there's multiple products, here are the invoices for product B, and put different pages between it to differentiate it. But the goal, however you decide to do it, the goal is to make it as easy as possible for the reader at Amazon to check their box that they received appropriate invoices.
Right. Now, I had 2 sellers in which they were requiring brand approval for the same brand. And I didn't see the paperwork, but they claimed one got approved and one did not.
This is the frustrating part of having the opportunity to sell to 80 million customers. We all know Amazon is erratic. They're erratic in instituting new policies without any warning, and then they're even more erratic at implementing them. So we deal with this all the time. Like I tell my clients, this is what occurred last week. It doesn't mean this is what's going to occur in your case. So the same exact scenario with very, very similar invoices might get shot down on your first submission. And you just keep submitting. You keep dumbing it down. You keep making it simpler and simpler and rehash it. And ultimately, you're right. And ultimately, you should get reinstated. That's what we do. We don't give up. When we have to, we keep resubmitting. And in reality, you're submitting the same information, but you're just making it simpler and simpler for whoever the reader is that's receiving it on that particular day.
Right. One thing I realized for a while already, Amazon is not an exact science. Okay. Suspension trends as holidays approaching. What are they buckling down under?
We are seeing more suspensions, but we're also seeing resolutions happening much, much faster. That's if they increased either their staff or their bots, whatever you think they have evaluating the accounts, that they're increasing the number of suspensions they're sending out. But on a positive note, they seem to also be increasing the speed in which they are responding. We're getting emails back, whether reinstatements or asking for more information, the same day. A lot more often than we did in the last couple of months. So it's bad that they're suspending more of us, but it's good that they're now also responding much, much faster. And again, they're responding with much more pointed questions or much more pointed issues that they want you to specifically address. So, everything with Amazon is good and bad. They're calling on the carpet more, but when you're right, they're reinstating you faster.
Well, I think when the issue is like just Amazon, like for example, late shipment or images, then they'll respond the same day right away. But once it starts dealing with invoices and rights owners and health and like with the outside companies involved, then it takes longer. Does that make sense?
It does. We're seeing the same thing where it's something with the listings and the photographs that is taking a bit longer, but it's not taking any longer than it has over the past several months. It just hasn't gotten any faster. Where the responses on your run-of-the-mill suspensions, you sold as new, and authentics, the responses are coming in much faster clip. You did bring something up, health and beauty aids. We are seeing a larger uptick in the suspensions for health and beauty. And we're also seeing more suspensions in supplements and like diet products and sort of health vitamins and all these different supplements that people buy and sell.
Right. How about retail arbitrage? Are they accepting those invoices? What have you seen?
I'm really glad you brought this up. So there's been a lot of doom and gloom about what's going to happen to retail arbitrage. We are seeing no difference, zero difference. We're not seeing any more people getting suspended. We're not seeing any more people that we cannot get reinstated. I haven't noticed any difference in the receipts that are being accepted. As time goes on, everyone gets better and better and better at what you do, including us, where we're definitely giving simpler, more concise plans of action with the receipts that explain this is for this product, this is for that product. But all the doom and gloom that's been presented over the last month or so has not affected our clientele at all. We've been able to get people right back on, just as we always have been able to do. Only now it's a little bit faster. The volume's higher, and it's a little bit faster to get reinstated. Where instead of consistently taking roughly a week or so, it's consistently taking a couple of days. Not on all cases. I don't want anyone to think that if they call, there's any guarantee we'll get you back in a couple of days. But we are seeing it happen faster than it has over several months. I think it's because the holiday season is upon us, and they're increasing the policing of the monitorings, which means more notices going out and more suspensions, but also an increase in the responses to get you back on, or at least getting good sellers back on.
Have you heard anyone, like a supplier, being called by Amazon to verify an invoice?
Zero. A lot of our clients are very protective of their suppliers and their distributors, and generally they don't want to give out who they are. Sometimes they have to in order to get their own account back on. They have to reveal where they bought their products from. But so far, I haven't heard of a single distributor or a single supplier being contacted as a result of information that we've provided. It doesn't mean it won't happen in the future, but so far, not a single one of our clients or distributors has been affected.
It seems on Amazon like for them to actually pick up a phone and call someone.
It's very un-Amazon-ish to call anybody.
Right.
And since they're entirely email-based, it's not like they have the email addresses of the distributors. What we do in our plans of action, we'll say, here's the distributor's name, address, phone number, email address. Often we'll go to their website and print out a copy of their site and submit that to Amazon if it looks like a nice established business. But so far, so good.
What do you do if you bought from a real business? I mean, look, what's considered a real business in Amazon? I mean, they have a website?
I don't know. It looks like if the receipts look good, they consider them real. On the other hand, Walmart is a real business, but from what I've heard from other consultants, that they're not taking them, although I haven't had that issue. But if the receipts look genuine, they seem to be a real business. We've had one case where a client made fake invoices from a very well-known distributor, and that was a big no-no because they got caught, because anyone who's been doing this for more than a couple of weeks has seen this particular distributor's invoice. But if it looks like a real invoice, which means it's made on QuickBooks like everybody else, Amazon seems to accept them as a real distributor. We tend to beef it up. Maybe we don't have to, but we do it anyway. We'll attach the name, the address, their domain, their phone number, their website. But even when we don't do that, we don't seem to have a problem as long as the invoices appear to be genuine.
Competitors asserting complaints.
This is heating up like crazy, okay? To all the sellers, stop making complaints against your competitors, okay? For all the people who are victims of these things, you have to address it in the same way you would address a legitimate complaint. I don't think Amazon wants to hear that you suspect it's a competitor knocking you off. But I do suspect that when they see that in one particular product, there's complaints against everybody, and all of a sudden the number of people has gone down dramatically. They notice it. But we're not pointing the finger and saying we know it. We know it's a competitor. Sometimes we'll allude to it if it's really clear, and we'll point out how the number of sellers has dropped dramatically. But generally, just address it in the same fashion you would any other plan of action. This is what we think the cause of it was, without pointing the finger to anybody but yourself. And this is how we made it better. And this is how our business is going to improve in the future. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. Amazon is on this never-ending quest to provide their customers with a better experience. And that's what plans of action do. They say how you're going to be a better seller and do better business.
Right. I saw one seller suspended because he falsely accused a competitor of doing something wrong.
We use that in our arsenal, especially in intellectual property right complaints, where we reach out to them and we let them know the complaint is baseless. There's no IP violation. There's no copyright. There's no trademark. There's nothing here you should withdraw. And by the way, you could potentially lose your account for making a fraudulent complaint because you had to click that box that said that you said everything is true and accurate. So one of the things that we use as leverage is not just the law, not just the risk of damages, but say, hey, you know what? Your account just as much as risk as my clients. Okay. And if you want to play hardball, we can assert the same complaints that you do. But all we want to do is get back to doing business fairly and competing. So withdraw your complaint. But that is definitely a significant gun to point at the head of someone who's made a baseless complaint against you.
Is there a difference between intellectual property and rights owner complaint and infringement rights owner complaint?
No, it's the same thing.
You mean the same thing?
If it's made by the rights owner, it's coming from the owner of that particular right. But the complaints can also come through Amazon if they're protecting particular brands and say, you know what, you shouldn't be selling this. You don't own this right to sell this particular product or to use that particular picture. But they're one and the same. I don't think it really matters in terms of how you address it as to where the complaint comes from. And now with the bundled IP complaints, you have to kind of address it to everyone who's asserted a complaint. But theoretically, I think you should handle it the same. You point out why there is no IP violation, either copyright or trademark or trade dress, and treat them all with the same seriousness in the same fashion. That's when you are dealing with the complainant, and then later on when you get the complaint withdrawn, dealing with Amazon.
Right, and I know we can't let a video go by without talking about Apple. I know Apple likes us, and now they had to wait 14 minutes to hear about them.
Right.
Any update in dealing with them?
You know, there's not. I think that sellers are taking our advice. It's good business advice. That if you're not making a lot of money selling Apple products, there's no point in doing it. So I'm happy that people are taking our advice. I'm happy that people are diversifying. And the complaints, at least that I'm seeing, that are started by Apple have decreased. So I think the number of sellers, I think, unfortunately, their trademark bullying worked, and they got rid of a lot of competitors. But my goal here is not necessarily to save the world, is to keep people selling and making money. And right now, the best way to do that is to avoid Apple.
Right, and some of the other guys, Samsung, I think, also, right?
Samsung's a whole nother kettle of fish, where the problems with the Galaxy 7, we're seeing that there are problems because they have inventory, they don't want to sell, they're problematic to sell anyway. I flew recently, and they actually collected the phones on the plane. Not only did you have to turn them off, you were supposed to hand them in. So Samsung's a whole nother kettle of fish. But the big problem has always been Apple. Samsung was very reasonable with us when we had to deal with them. But in terms of Apple, I would just stay away from them for now. Maybe in the future, or if you go into it, there's a tremendous markup available and you have limited risk. But it's a risky proposition to go after a company who is knowingly maintaining complaints that they know are nonsense.
Right. Okay. All right, CJ, I appreciate that very much.
All right, great speaking with you. Always great. Well, congratulations. Your event was spectacular. All the clients I've spoke to since then had nothing but great things to say, and they can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you coming, and I appreciate you speaking. Thank you very much.
I think they just wanted me to speak longer.
Right. That was the only bad part, right?
Right. All right. Take care, Ed.
Yeah. Right.